Off. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another NinjaOne webinar. Today, we're talking about the 7.0 release of NinjaOne. This has been out for everybody globally for a little bit now, but we're going to go over what some of the new features are because I do think that they, in some cases, kind of change how you use Ninja. There's certainly lots of enhancements to existing features or new features, but there's some features that I think actually kind of change how you would use Ninja under normal circumstances. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. A few brief bits of housekeeping before we officially get started. First and foremost, this session is being recorded. You will get an email tomorrow with a link to the recording. It'll also be posted on our YouTube channel. So if you'd like, go ahead and subscribe there. And actually, we released some videos about the very features that I'm going to discuss here today. So if you want to get a head start or maybe watch a shorter, more condensed overview of some of the features, we have that on our YouTube as well. Secondly, very natural as we go through everything that you might have some questions. I strongly encourage you to ask them. However, please use the Q&A section of Zoom in order to answer those questions. Much easier for me to keep track of in the Q&A section versus the chat, which can scroll by real quickly and I miss stuff. So if you have a question for me, go ahead and ask it in the Q&A section and then just reserve the chat for general commentary and heckling. Lastly, we do have a giveaway and we will announce that at the very end of the webinar. With that, we can go ahead and officially kick things off. As I said, we are talking about our 7.0 product release. I did want to make a brief note here about a change that has recently happened with our numbering convention. For a really long time, the first 4 years or so that I worked at Ninja, we were on some iteration of 5.0 of NinjaOne. And then that changed last year, late in the fall, where we switched to a 6.0 release. And you'll see now that we're on 7.0, so we've gone a full version in a couple of months, which is a lot quicker than the 4 years that it took for us to go from 5.0 from 6.0. And this is going to continue. Our next release, major release, is going to be 8.0, followed by 9.0. And this just reflects the fact that our releases at Ninja are a lot bigger than they used to be. And so we've just updated the numbering convention to reflect that. Although I'm certain we would love to maybe move away from numbers in the future. If you have any suggestions, please let us know. I suggested actually making it more difficult using Roman numerals like the Super Bowl, but nobody really went for that idea. Let's go ahead and talk about our agenda for today. I'm going to be very, very brief on the PowerPoint today. I want to spend most of our time actually in the NinjaOne product, taking a look at how everything actually works, some real-world examples. The first thing we're going to talk about is compound conditions. This has been a long time coming. What it does is allow you to essentially aggregate conditions so that instead of being one-to-one where perhaps one software alert triggers an alert, you can then take into account multiple criteria that all need to be in effect before the alert is actually going to trigger. And as you'll see in the demonstration portion, we're going to use an example where we can control the deployment of software based off of what's inside of a custom field, which I think gives you a lot more power to control all of this outside of policies. It gives you some additional options without having to create additional policies to account for sometimes the minute differences between different subsets of devices that you might be happening to manage. We'll also talk about the end user dashboard, sort of another in a series of features that we've added to be more user centric within Ninja. I think that over time, we've seen that the evolution of IT has shifted from being strictly about the device into about the user as well, especially with the concept now that users might have more than one device to manage. And so applying that lens towards the user rather than just the individual devices is a kind of ongoing process here at Ninja to add in more user-centric functionality. We also have our warranty tracking going generally available. We'll do a brief overview of that, offering warranty tracking on Dell, HP, Toshiba, Lenovo, and now Microsoft devices as well with the 7.0 release. We've got some new features around that we'll talk about. We've had some enhancements to our image backup engine. that I'm really excited about. And then some integrations, some ITSM integrations with our ServiceNow integration and Zendesk integration, both going into generally available status. We also have some enhancements to our MDM platform. This includes location tracking. So you'll be able to actually see the location, both current and historical location of the device on iOS and Android devices. And then there are also some other enhancements with Android that we'll talk about as well. And then finally, we'll get to the grab bag. Smaller enhancements, some quality and life improvements that I think make a really big difference. With that, we can go ahead and go into the demo. I promise that the PowerPoint portion would be brief. You guys took the heckling thing to a new level. And so now we come into the dashboard. We're going to start off by talking about compound conditions, and that's going to be located inside of policies. Policy, for anyone who is not familiar with Ninja, is the main driver of day-to-day operation. And if we go into a policy, I think you'll see why that is. If we go into a policy right here for Windows workstations, you would see that you can have separate policies for Windows servers or Mac devices, Mac servers, Linux devices, really any device type that you want to treat as distinct from another device. But we'll look at Windows workstations first here. And over on the left-hand side, I think you can see why I said earlier that the policy is the main driver of day-to-day operation within NinjaOne. We can see at the very top, we have conditions. And this is what would create the alerts. It's what would create tickets. It's also a vector for automation. And we give you plenty of templates out of the box to get started with common services, common Windows event IDs. For example, maybe we want to track every single time somebody fails to log into the device. So we can go ahead and add that in just by clicking like so. And you'll see it actually pop in down here if we go down to our failed login attempts right there. And you can then modify this if you'd like. With this particular type of event ID, I think it makes sense to take time and how many times the action has occurred into account. So we can say if the event has triggered, let's say 3 or more times in 5 minutes, then we can go ahead and trigger that alert, and that'll cut down on some of the noise. Maybe we don't necessarily care if somebody just typos one particular their password once, but 2, 3 times in 5 minutes, that starts to become suspicious. And so then we might want to go ahead and raise that alert. We want to actually pay attention to that. And of course, we have the concept of being able to remediate these conditions with a script. So if we go up a little further here, we might want to take the firewall status here, audit the firewall status, and whenever we are not in whatever the settings should be, which would be, perhaps having the Windows firewall enabled, we can then raise an alert. But ideally, we would go ahead and take care of this remediation automatically with the script. And so we would go ahead and run our enable Windows firewall script right here. This script, as well as the script to check on the status of the firewall, is from our template library. And this is a series of scripts that are ongoingly maintained, as well as adding new ones to address common issues in the IT space, try to make it a little bit easier. And so in this case, we can very easily enable or disable the Windows firewall, as well as block all inbound connections if we'd like to, which I will not take that option. But now we end up with a 3-step process. We detect that something has gone wrong. In this case, we are not in compliance with a particular security setting like firewall status. And then on the right, step 2 is to try and fix that issue. Let's enable the firewall. And then step 3 is, did it work? Did it have the action that we expected? And so that would be the when no longer met option. We'll take a look at the root cause of the condition, and once it's no longer in effect, we'll go ahead and reset that alert, close the loop so you don't have to chase an open-ended issue that ends up going nowhere. And there are a lot of conditions here. If we look at just the raw list of every single individual condition, you can see that there are quite a few here. Antivirus health, all your common hardware metrics right here, like disk active time or free space. When was the last time the device had a patch installed, or is there a high CVSS score patch available? However, they are all one-to-one. One particular condition results in one alert being triggered. And so that brings out our new feature with the compound conditions, which is allowing you to take in multiple conditions that need to trigger before we're going to actually go ahead and raise that alert or have a remediation automation occur. Now, if we look here on the right-hand side, we click on Add, and then we add in a new condition here, you'll see that the list of conditions that are currently available here is much smaller than we saw with the conditions that are one-to-one. Now, this is not the final version of compound conditions. This is the initial implementation of it. We already have people working in development to make this list right here much longer than just these three. And by the way, we would love to hear from you on this topic. If you have particular conditions that you want to have added in here, please submit a feature request. I do not say that as a bin to just submit that goes nowhere. Our product managers pay very close attention to the feature requests that we submit, and the noise, the signal that we receive on that, that drives our roadmap very, very strongly. And so if we go into the Ninja dashboard here, go to the top right, if you ever want to submit a feature request, just go to the dojo here or to the product roadmap, and that'll take you to our product board site. I can assure you, our product managers live in product boards. So the voice that you call out here, this has a very real effect. Now, with these compound conditions here, what can we do with them? Well, we can go ahead and look at our example here of installing Google Chrome to get an idea of how we might change how we implement software deployments through NinjaOne. Right here, we have something that is commonly used here, which is you're missing a piece of software. That's a required piece of software. We need to go ahead and raise an alert that you're missing that required piece of software. And then we also might want to have an automated remediation of installing that software. And so we can do that today with a single condition. However, if you have different organizations under management or different subsets of devices where some of them need that piece of software and some of them don't, you end up in a situation where you have to create additional policies or make device level policy overrides to account for that fragmentation in your IT environment. With the compound conditions, you now have an avenue to where you're able to control all of this from a custom field or via a script. And so now we have to have both of these conditions be true, be valid, and then we can go ahead and trigger the alert. And so in this case, if Google Chrome is missing, I also need to have a custom field indicating something that means that we want to take this action. And so in this case, what I've done is I've created a multi-line custom field, and I've got a comma-separated list of software in that field. If we go into the dashboard again, and then go to the Southern Data Organization right here, you'll see that inside of my organization custom fields, I have a software list here and then a list of software to install right here. And so right now I've got 4 applications. The first one is Google Chrome, and we can see that right here. If we detect that Google Chrome is in that custom field, that allows us to control the deployment of Google Chrome through that organization custom field without the need to create additional policies, without the need to then go and manage those policy settings. I particularly like this because custom fields are accessible via the API. And so we end up in this space where you're actually able to make updates to whether these conditions are going to trigger through the API so that you get more of an automated mechanism to control this rather than having to come in the Ninja and change a certain policy, make a new policy, create a child policy that branches from a parent, and then go ahead and assign that. You get sort of a cleaner mechanism to go ahead and control this. And this went through extensive beta testing, the compound conditions. And many of the people who we spoke to, this was the primary use case, was software deployment. However, it's not the only use case. There are other things that we can do with this. For example, we can control certain security settings. We saw this example earlier inside of the regular conditions, the one-to-one conditions, where we were auditing the firewall status. And we've got that same mechanism right here, a script result condition that runs a template library script to check on the status of the firewall. And in this case, this is going to create an alert with an exit code of 1 if the firewall status is not what we want it to be, which should be enabled. And so this will create the alert, but again, we're not going to actually raise the alert until this second piece of criteria is in effect, which is just a custom field indicating that the firewall status should be enabled. I see a question here from Brian. He does not want to get 50 service alerts every time he reboots a server. And I think that there is something today that would be able, inside of the regular conditions, to facilitate that, which would be the system uptime delay. You could go ahead and expand the system uptime delay so that as the server is rebooting, any services that aren't quite up at the initial boot of the server, you don't get that flood there. We could bump that up to, let's say, 10 minutes, give time for all those services to start up, and then that could prevent some of the issues. Now, long term, we've got some plans for later this year to make it so that you can put a device into maintenance mode in conjunction with your patching schedules and your reboots. So that will be a future feature. I think it should be out in the first half of the year. But just to give you some insight there, Brian, there is some possibility here, and then we'll have a more robust maintenance mode feature in a couple releases. Now, I want to talk about one more thing here with the compound conditions, which is I'm only demonstrating, two right now. You're not limited by that. You could have as many as you'd like. So say, for example, I want to extend this and have kind of a comprehensive device hardening automation. And so I might have a series of script result conditions that validate the disablement of SMBv1, that PowerShell 2.0 has been disabled, that the firewall status and the system restore status are all what they should be. And I can add in all of those individual conditions, and I can actually change this so that if any condition is true, then that would trigger a response. And then in response to that, I could have an automation run that in this case is going to enable the Windows firewall, but then also might disable PowerShell 2.0. It might disable SMBv1. So you're not limited by just having two conditions here. When we say compound, we do mean it. You could have I think essentially an unlimited number of script result conditions, custom field conditions, and software conditions, all working together to give you a more granular, targeted ability to apply not just alerts, but as we've seen here, automations. So your software deployments, if you have a need to control this via custom fields instead of using the conditions that we saw up there in the top, the one-to-one conditions, this gives you way more flexibility. And that's part of the reason why we see the conditions in this initial implementation of compound conditions, because script result condition and custom fields give you by far the greatest flexibility to accomplish what you're looking for. And then we're going to add in additional conditions to make this much more robust over time. Again, strongly recommend that for your conditions that you see as critical for your operation, let us know what should be added to this next. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next feature. I wanted to go ahead and talk about the user dashboard. So over on the left-hand side, and I'll actually expand this out here so it's easier to see, beneath the devices menu, we have a end users menu. And so this is essentially giving you a new view through which you can look at the devices that are under management. Do you view them as individual devices, or do you view them as devices that are in use by a user? And so when we come here, it becomes much easier to see AJ, for example, right here, and the device that he is assigned to. And then we can use the filters up here at the top to find specific users, specific email addresses, organizations, certain end user roles, or certain device types. And you can add new end users here. We've made some big changes and improvements to end users. They can now, I believe, be converted in between organizational end users and global end users without the need to delete them. So they can also be automatically provisioned by a SCIM integration. So if you're using an IDP like Azure or Okta, you can also have your end users be automatically created and synced over from that IDP that you're using. And so this is really useful in terms of bringing those users into NinjaOne. And at that point, we can assign them to devices. Now, in terms of assigning them to devices, you have two options. We can do it manually. So if I go to my API server right here and go into settings, I can go ahead and assign myself to this device. I'll just go ahead and edit there, and I will select myself and save that. Now, this is also beneficial because the global search bar in the very top, which is accessible by hitting the /, you can go ahead and actually search by the name here. So if you're trying to find someone, as long as you have assigned that device to them, it becomes very easy to find where that user's device is. And so in this case, here's my API server. I just assigned myself. That's already reflected in the platform. And so I'm able to go ahead and take action on this by running an automation or kicking off a remote access session, or I can just click into it and I go to the actual device. Now, one thing I've been playing around with is the concept of using a script on a device to write the user's email address into a custom field. And so at that point, I'm able to use the API to determine who the assigned user of the device is because I know what their login is. In my case, if I was doing this on my device, it would have my NinjaOne email address as what I log into the device with. And so by putting that information into a custom field, I can then use the API to find that user inside of NinjaOne and then assign it to them. And if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend the NinjaOne Discord. If we go into the script share section of the NinjaOne Discord, you will see somewhere down here that I have a script about updating the assigned user. I believe in my case, it's doing it via a CSV, somewhere in here. Oh, here we go. You have writing the MDM user email address into a custom field, and then a little bit further down from that is updating the assigned user via API. So this creates a workflow where you could go ahead and identify the user of the device and then use the API to programmatically assign that user to the device within Ninja, which gives you this functionality where you can then go ahead and search and find the device by the user rather than having to know the device name or go through some other complicated identification process. And of course, we do have plans to extend and expand this functionality, but that's a talk for maybe the next feature release webinar that we do. Yep, thank you for posting the link in there. Let's go to our next feature, which is going to be the warranty tracking functionality. This is something that everyone should have access to. So go into the administration section and then go to apps, and then you'll see the NinjaOne warranty tracking tile. Go ahead and click on that and enable that. If you do not see this, again, everybody should see it. But if for some reason you do not see it, please reach out to your account manager. This is something that should be globally available to every single person. Now, once we enable that, it's going to automatically start retrieving warranty information. The time frame on that does vary a little bit. Dell, Lenovo, and Toshiba, those are all checking every single week. I believe we check Saturday at 1 a.m. UTC. Now, HP and Microsoft, I believe we only check for that information once a month. I think it's on the 15th of every single month. We do have plans to go ahead and have this be something that you can more broadly, call an ad hoc sync or have devices automatically retrieve this information as they are added into NinjaOne. So we will make this a smoother process, but it may take a little bit of time for the warranty information to come available after you install the agent. Now, this is going to result in something like this. If I go to this device right here, this is an actual physical device, so it actually has a warranty associated with it. And I want to show you what this actually looks like. I can go ahead and clear out my warranty information like so. Not set, there's no warranty information, but then all I have to do is sync, and it's going to go ahead and retrieve that information and place it into the warranty set date here. There we go. Almost made a liar out of me, but we got our warranty information in there. I see a question here from Mark. We were told there will be a cost associated with warranty tracking. Is that true? No, we made an announcement last year that warranty tracking is going to be included with a NinjaOne subscription. So that is not accurate. There is not a cost associated with it. And Brian says when he tries to enable warranty tracking, it says coming soon. Please reach out to your account manager. Again, this should be something that's available to everybody. Yeah, same question from Mike. Is that a paid add-on? No, that's included with your NinjaOne subscription. Greg asks, any plans to have warranty dates sync back into the PSA? I think it would depend on the PSA. I believe that we do have some partners who are working on retrieving this information through our API. This information is accessible. So if you are an API user or somebody did want to retrieve this warranty information, it is absolutely accessible via the API. But I think the warranty date syncing into a PSA is going to depend on the integration. So yeah, it's a TBD on that one, Greg. Jeremy asks, is there a way to kick off a machine info update? Not for warranty tracking. but every device should update on the general information being sent back to the cloud every 55 seconds. But the warranty information, that's only going to update on the cadence that I mentioned earlier. Yes. So Lauren asked a question. For Apple devices, can we update the warranty information ourselves with an API call based on info we have from purchases? Yes, you absolutely can. Let me go ahead and put a quick link in here. If you want to update warranty information via the API, I am popping that into the chat right now. But this allows you to update from a CSV. We did look into retrieving Apple information, um, as a part of the native warranty tracking, but there just isn't an avenue for us there. Apple only makes warranty retrieval information accessible on basically a device ownership basis. So it is not something that we're able to do natively. But of course, if you have that information, any CSV with warranty information, you are able to import that via the API. And this script is a good example of how to do that. All right, let's go ahead and continue talking about warranty tracking. One of the new aspects of the 7.0 release is that warranty tracking now has a dedicated tab within policies. Again, I mentioned earlier that policies are a huge driver of your regular operation of Ninja, and that includes things like Windows patching, antivirus deployment, the conditional alerting that we saw earlier, software patching, which includes our WinGet integration, giving you the ability to patch over 6,000 applications on Windows workstations, our image backup, which we'll talk about in a second, and then, of course, warranty tracking. So if you'd like, you can go ahead and enable warranty tracking right there. Determine when you would like to be notified, 90 days before the expiration of the warranty. We do have the ability to be notified after the warranty starts, but I imagine most people want to know before the warranty ends. And then you can see the frequency of how many times you should be reminded here that there's a problem. And so perhaps you want that every single day. Maybe you want it every week. I think it depends on exactly when you're notifying about the warranty expiration. And then here you can see, how do you want this to be sent out essentially? Do you want this to go to a NinjaOne ticket? Do you want it to go through a ticket that is created with a PSA or ITSM integration like ConnectWise or ServiceNow or Zendesk? Or do you want to go ahead and send it to a third-party service, which is through our notification channels? And so this could be an email. This could be an SMS text number. It could be a Slack channel. It could be a webhook, any service that accepts webhooks. It could be to Microsoft Teams, as we will talk about a little bit later in the webinar. Now, you have another option here, which is the ability to create data table reports here. So over on the left, I have a warranty data table report, and this allows me to see all of this information at scale across all my devices that have warranty information. I can see all of them right here, very convenient to look at, but then I can use NinjaOne reporting to go ahead and create a data table report like these right here, and I'm able to go ahead and have that sent out on a regularly scheduled basis as a CSV. I know the CSV isn't ideal in terms of the formatting, but it is a good way to display this information. If you are looking for something that is perhaps a little prettier and you're a NinjaOne documentation user, I personally, actually I'll switch browsers here. I personally am a big fan of using the API to create a little warranty report that looks like this. This again is on my GitHub, so I'll post this here as well. See the warranty reporting right there. I'll pop that into the chat. Thank you. I see that there's been a bit of confusion here. It appears I was misinformed. The warranty feature is not GA yet. That is still in early access, so there's still a feature flag. You will still need to reach out to your account manager. I apologize on that one. It appears that that got rolled back. My bad. Did I ever actually paste this in here? Yes, I did. So let's go ahead and move on to our next feature, which is image backup. Let's go to administration and then into policies again. And inside of policies, we will see the backup tab here. And now NinjaOne offers the ability to back up files and folders on both Windows and Mac OS devices, and those can go into the AWS cloud in storage that you'll license through Ninja, or they can go to local storage on network attached storage. Anything that supports SMB v2 or greater, we would be able to back up to that network storage or file share. However, image backup is something that you can only do on Windows devices. And last year, we did a reimagining of our image backup, sort of a complete change in how it looks, feels, and operates. And it results in this. In our initial release of it, only supported backing up to the cloud. But with the 7.0 release, in early access, which means that it's something that you have to request from your account manager, you will have the option to back up to a local storage as well as the hybrid option, meaning that you're able to back up to local storage first, and then that gets synced to the cloud. So again, this is one I know for sure you're going to have to contact your account manager and ask for the local and hybrid options to be made available. So I just want to be very clear on that. Those will be in early access for this. But if we switch over to that hybrid approach here, you can see that we now can split the retention settings between our two storage locations. So for our cloud backups, we can have one set of settings. Perhaps we want to retain for 4 months and we want to keep daily for only 5 days and then weekly for the next 8 weeks and then monthly until our 4 month limit is reached. But for local backups, because that storage is cheaper, it's in control by you, you can go ahead and have perhaps a longer tail on backups. Maybe we want to keep more daily backups. Maybe we want to keep weekly backups for 12 weeks here and then monthly until 6 months, until the 6 month limit is reached. So you get a lot more flexibility with this approach than our previous approach. I will say that in my experiences using NinjaOne's image backup, it is faster, it is more efficient in terms of the space, and with the more granular retention options, it gives you much more flexibility for the length and amount of time that you want to retain all of this data for. Let's go ahead and talk about some of our new integrations. So I'm going to go ahead and find my window, flip over to a different browser. Oh, question here from Steve, can you restore an image directly to a new device? Yes, you can restore it, but you do need to create bootable media. So you would need to create some sort of ISO if you wanted to restore a VM or a USB flash drive if you wanted to restore a physical device in order to have that pre-boot media so that you're able to facilitate the restore. So I'm not quite sure if that's what you mean by directly, but yes, I would consider that to be direct. Question from Farrell. What is or Farrell? Sorry if I mispronounced that. What's the license cost? Any questions on cost? I would strongly recommend that you reach out to your account manager or your salesperson if you're not yet a Ninja partner. Question from William. Will we be able to bare metal restore an Azure VM? I don't believe that you're able to do that today, but I do think that is something that we are working on. I believe Azure VMs have to be in a specific format in order to be restored. So I don't think we can do that today, but that is something that is in the works. Oh, I see another question here. Anything on Microsoft 365 backups? I would reach out to your account manager on that front. Nothing that I can show right now, but your account manager has an option for you. So any SaaS backups, M365 backups, please reach out to your account manager to have that discussion. I have, Joe says, I have cloud hosted servers. Can I restore an image in that environment? Absolutely. As long as it supports restoring from an ISO or a VHDX, you should be able to restore your images in your cloud hosted servers. Bradley asks, any integration with Acronis? We don't have an integration with Acronis, but Acronis has built an integration with NinjaOne through our API. So there is an integration that they have built. I think I answered most of the questions there. Oh, I see a new one from Joseph here. Will warranty tracking get included in summary reports eventually? We do have plans for that. But for right now, it's only the data table reports, or you can create your own through the API, as I did in the link that I posted earlier. Uh, yeah, Alex, sorry, no joy on Apple devices with warranty tracking. You would have to manually correlate that information and then update into NinjaOne using the API. Joel has a question. Where can I see the version of NinjaOne that I'm currently using? If you hit and hold the control button and then hover over the Ninja logo in the top left, you will see all the various versions that we have there. Again, hit the control button and then hover over the logo, and then you'll get that. You will have to hold that control button in order to see that information. All right, let's go ahead and talk about some of our integrations. The ServiceNow and Zendesk integrations are now officially GA. You will see the ServiceNow integration right here because that's what I've set up in this environment. This is going to give you a few different capabilities. It's going to take the managed devices within NinjaOne and it's going to sync those over as configuration items into ServiceNow as assets. Now, ServiceNow has a reconciliation engine, and so ServiceNow will be able to determine if you already have an existing asset and it will merge those two together if that's the case. Otherwise, NinjaOne is creating a wholly new configuration item inside of ServiceNow. And you can determine the mapping for that right here. We can go ahead and determine, one that I already created. Like so, you can see we're taking our desktop, our laptop, and we're just saying in ServiceNow that is the equivalent of a computer. And we can go ahead and, of course, add in all of our various device roles and then all of the various classes that we have inside of ServiceNow here. And so that is all of your asset information. It all stays synced. It all stays up to date. NinjaOne is kind of the funnel through which all of your device and asset information gets synced over and updated and maintained inside of your CMDB, inside of your ServiceNow ITSM tool. Now, you also have another aspect of what NinjaOne is going to be able to funnel into ServiceNow, which is the alerts. All those conditions that we saw earlier, whether they're compound conditions, regular conditions, we can go ahead and have those create tickets or what ServiceNow refers to as incidents inside of ServiceNow. You can create various templates inside of ServiceNow that dictate the behavior of the incident or ticket inside of ServiceNow. You create those inside of ServiceNow, and then NinjaOne will sync them over. And so you'll be able to see them right here. And this is important because if we go into policies and we try to create a ticket here, we can say create a ticket for when there's antivirus not installed on a device, and then you can determine the ticket template here. And again, this is going to control the behavior of this ticket inside of ServiceNow. So what status does it have? What is going to happen when the issue in Ninja, is fixed or reset in some way? How do you reflect that inside of ServiceNow? That behavior is all controlled by the ticket template. And of course, if we did have an automation that is going to run in response to a condition, the status of the incident inside of ServiceNow, you would see an update in the comments there saying, hey, this is what's happened. Furthermore, with this alert, not just the creation of the alert, but then also the subsequent remediation automation that we would have over on the right-hand side. So let's say I was installing a certain AV like Sophos. I could have that script run in response if the AV was ever not installed. And we also have the concept of user-generated tickets. So if we go into the sys tray, which you can find by going to General, Branding, and then going to the sys tray here, you'll see that you have an option for the help request form. This is going to pop up on the end user's device. I am having my start bar disappear here, so I can't actually show it to you right now. I apologize. Minor technical difficulties. Is there an IT person in the house? But this would pop up a little pop-up box with a few different fields that you need to fill out, and then that would go into, in this case, our PSA integration, which would be ServiceNow in this case. And again, you can have those same ticket templates that you create in ServiceNow control the behavior and dictate what happens when this ticket is submitted. Does it go to a certain board? Does it have a certain quality about it in terms of severity and priority? All that is controlled through the ticket template. Thank you for all of the responses here. Uh, I have not tried rebooting. Can end this meeting real quick if I do that. So let's go ahead and talk about on our other integration, which is Zendesk. And so if we come in here, this operates slightly differently. We've got this environment set up. Zendesk has been integrated. One main difference here is that there is no configuration item syncing from NinjaOne into Zendesk. And that's because Zendesk, to my knowledge, just doesn't have the CMDB element that ServiceNow does have. However, tickets will be created. We saw the policies earlier, those conditions and compound conditions will create tickets inside of Zendesk, and it will have a link back to the back to the device. So for both ServiceNow and Zendesk, you're going to have a quick link back to the dashboard in Ninja. You're also going to have a quick link to start a remote access session. So you'll get a very easy ability once you receive the ticket for the technicians to then either get back into the device directly within NinjaOne or to just initiate that remote access session using NinjaOne Remote. Now, once we create these, another difference here is that the ticket templates are created on the NinjaOne side as opposed to the ServiceNow integration where they're created on the ServiceNow side. So with Zendesk, we're going to create our ticket templates, which again are going to control the behavior of the ticket inside of Zendesk. We're able to control that right here. So we could do an example ticket template. What happens when we create the ticket? Does it have a new status? Is it a question by default? Is it going to a particular group inside of Zendesk? What's the priority? What tags get assigned? And then when the condition is reset, what happens? Do we want to go ahead and change the status of the ticket to perhaps be a custom status indicating that it needs review before being closed? Or we could go ahead and just solve it out. And then we can, sorry, I said that the wrong way. If the status is a certain status, we then go ahead and change it over here. So let's say it's already in a new status. It makes sense to me that I would want to go ahead and solve that ticket out because I was able to automatically remediate it with a NinjaOne automation like we saw earlier. And then if the condition retriggers, we want to probably go ahead and append to the existing ticket so that you don't end up with a bunch of duplicates. Alternatively, for visibility purposes, like let's say a server is down, you might want to create a new ticket so that the technicians are aware that the previous ticket for a server being down was not being addressed in a timely fashion. And then finally, what happens when the alert is reset inside of NinjaOne? Do we want to go ahead? Sorry, when the associated ticket is resolved in Zendesk, what happens in NinjaOne? I think it makes a lot of sense that you would want to reset the corresponding condition in NinjaOne so that way you don't have this dysfunction where you're not exactly sure what's an active alert and what is not an active alert. I prefer to keep everything synced up, but I can certainly appreciate that there are situations where that doesn't really make a lot of sense. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our MDM enhancements. Let me go ahead and switch back into a different uh, device here. And so let's go to this device right here. We've added in sorry, not warranty, location tracking, different type of tracking. And this is also controlled by the policy. So if we look at the policy here, this is an MDM policy. This is functionality you have for both iOS devices as well as Android devices. And we'll see the location tracking option on the submenu right here. We can go ahead and turn it on. You can determine the accuracy, balanced or higher accuracy, and there is some battery trade-off there. And then how do you want to update the location of the device? Is it based off of time-based frequency, every couple of minutes, every couple of hours, or is it based off of distance traveled? Now, once you determine that, we go back to device, you'll be able to see the current and historical location of the device right here. And if you wanted, you could also request the location on demand. In this case, this is at our office in Oldsmar, Florida. That's where this device is currently located, and it's where it's been located for the entirety of the history that we have available here. Now, this does require an app in order to transmit the location back to NinjaOne. We call it the NinjaOne Assist app. This is available on both the App Store as well as the Play Store. You can use the policy settings in NinjaOne to deploy applications, which would include the NinjaOne Assist app, as you can see right here. Another really handy thing about the NinjaOne Assist app is that it is able to help us facilitate remote screen share on devices. That's not a new 7.0 feature, but it is a really handy feature. We can actually go to a device, hit the NinjaOne remote icon, and that will send a notification, a push notification to the end user saying, I need to I'm requesting remote access to your device. Do you approve? And the end user can then approve. The end user for now remains in control of the device. The technician is not able to click on anything. It's just not possible today. But it's really handy for viewing the screen and going through the troubleshooting process because you're able to see exactly what the end user sees. Now that works with managed access when the device is enrolled in NinjaOne MDM. But using that NinjaOne Assist app, you can also do ad hoc screen share sessions using Quick Connect. So I can generate an invitation here. Actually, let's go ahead and use an existing invitation. And you'll see that I get a code. And so what I would do is I would say to my end user, go ahead and download this app, the NinjaOne Assist app, and then you give them this code, and they're able to type that code in, and you'll then see that device for an ad hoc session in the NinjaOne dashboard, and you're able to go and do a temporary remote access session with the end user, and then after that, they still remain in full control of their device. They're able to kick you out, and that's the end of it. So this is a really handy bit of functionality here. It also works with Mac devices and Windows devices for remote ad hoc remote access as well. So for Android, iOS, Windows, and Mac OS remote screen share, if you need that in an ad hoc fashion, we can do that with NinjaOne Quick Connect. And then, of course, if you have the NinjaOne agent installed, or if the Android or iOS device is enrolled in NinjaOne MDM, you get the ability to initiate that session through the dashboard like you just saw me do. Brian asks, are MDM modules an additional cost? Yes, there is an additional cost for MDM. Any plans for the ability to push and update web apps to iOS devices for MDM? Yes, but I do believe that's going to be the next release, the 8.0 release. It is not the 7.0 release. Andy asks, does MDM have to be enabled or can we use Quick Connect as is? You can use Quick Connect as is. If you only need remote access in an ad hoc manner on iOS and Android devices, you can absolutely have Quick Connect, not have MDM, and still be able to do that functionality. Michael asks, any AI features in this release? That was actually our last release, the 6.0 release, had the Patch Intelligence AI feature, which you can see right here. If we go into see our pending patches, you'll see that we have this KB analysis right here. And this is giving us insight to if these patches could potentially cause some problems. And we can see that some of them have known issues. Some of them appear stable, which is great, but some of them have known issues. And if we click on that, NinjaOne's Patch Intelligence AI is taking publicly available data that we've aggregated from many different sources and giving you insight into what the KB is, why it's valuable, and then, of course, what are some of the issues? What are some of the problems that we see here? Right here, we can see some issues with OpenSSH, some Citrix problems, some event ID errors that we see with System Guard Runtime Monitor. So it's good to have this information. Some of this stuff may not be relevant to you, but if you're a heavy Citrix user, this could certainly be valuable. I know a previous KB was causing problems with Azure Virtual Desktop with some blank screen issues. And I know that many users actually found out about that because they were reading the Patch Intelligence AI summary. So this is, again, well, hopefully I'm right on it this time. This should be available for everybody. You should see this in your App Exchange. I do not believe that this has to be enabled by an account manager, but I was already wrong once today, so hopefully I am not wrong twice. Stefan asks, is Quick Connect a part of MDM? No, that's a completely separate feature. Quick Connect is about ad hoc remote access to iOS, Android, Windows, and macOS devices. And today, NinjaOne MDM is strictly for iOS and Android devices. Sorry, I always forget that the Q&A section, even if I organize it by most upvotes, every time there's a new question, it jumps down to the bottom. So I apologize. Steve asks, when do we get scheduled maintenance mode? It is in the works. I believe actually in the 8.0 release, you should get the ability to use a native automation to schedule maintenance mode. I will caveat that by saying we are still a little ways out from the 8.0 release and it hasn't been finalized, so that may not be a guarantee. But we are working on a few different options for maintenance mode, one involving automatic maintenance mode for patching. But I think the first implementation that we're going to see is the ability to schedule maintenance mode through a native automation within NinjaOne. Uh, let's go ahead and talk about our grab bag here. A few different miscellaneous quality of life features that I think some of them make a really big difference to how you use Ninja. The first one is that you do have a new patch scheduling option. If we go into Windows patches, both scan and update schedules can now be scheduled on system startup. So if you want to patch as soon as the device boots up, that is now an option for you. Additionally, you can now go into the NinjaOne API, and there are API endpoints available to kick off scan and apply cycles, I believe for both third-party software patching as well as operating system patching. And so if we go to apps, API, and then all the way down here at the bottom, we can see the documentation. And then I go pretty far down the bottom. I think we're in the management section. We will see the option there to run the patch OS apply right here, the patch scan for OS, and then the software apply and the software scan. Uh, Now, in the 8.0 release, we are also adding in native automations so that you're able to patch independent of policy schedules as well. So that'll be an 8.0 feature. You'll be able to run it as an automation. So being able to just schedule something like here and use one of our native automations right here, that'll be an option which will give you some great flexibility when it comes to scheduling when you want patches to be installed without the need to create many different policies. So that's an exciting 8.0 feature. I told myself I was going to try not to talk about anything but 7.0, but you guys got me. See some questions. Is NinjaOne AI, the patch intelligence AI, an additional cost? It is not. It is included. Um, we also have a new report here. It is the management summary report, and it looks a little something like this. You can see here, just a bit of a different layout. We have the executive overview, the executive summary report, and now we have the management summary report. And I would put these into the category of single page reports that are designed to give an at a glance view of the overall health of the devices that are under management. And so you can see here AV protection, patch coverage, overall health, and then we see disk volume, device count. So this is something that you can get to by creating a summary report like so. And then you can start with a blank template or a regular template, and then you can go ahead and customize and add in your modules, one of which is the management summary module that I just showed you. And you also saw another feature there, which was the uh, customizable images or the customizable cover pages. You can see here that we added a picture of an owl here, an all-knowing owl. So you can go ahead and customize this just to give you a little bit more flexibility with how you want these reports to be received by your end users. So that's another nice enhancement to our reporting process, in addition to the management summary module that we just saw. Another good enhancement is that ticketing, full ticket search is now in the, sorry, I don't know what I was trying to say there. Full text search in ticketing is now available. So now whenever you are searching for something, you are searching for not just the subject of the ticket, you are searching for the entirety of the ticket body as well, which will make it much easier to find what you are looking for. One of my favorite features, and something that I think really does change how you use NinjaOne, is to tasks. Previously, tasks that target dynamic search groups could only be run on a schedule of daily, weekly, and monthly, which meant it was limiting in what it allowed you to do. However, we now have an option of every. So you are now able to run a task targeting a dynamic search group every as soon as every hour. And so I think that really changes how you use tasks. To me, one of the big breakdowns in using tasks versus using conditions as a vector for automation typically always came down to speed. How immediate does the action need to be? And with tasks, you were limited because you could only run the action or task once a day. By being able to run it more frequently, I think it really kind of changes the calculus for how you build your Ninja environment and where you're going to utilize these. And so we end up in a situation where I might want to take an action across a series of devices. I can create a customizable group here using these filters. For example, I know a real popular one here is devices without Chrome. So right here, we can see all devices that are missing Chrome here. Uh, we could go ahead and then create a task to install Google Chrome. And that is going to run on those devices every single hour. And so it means that something like software deployment, like device configurations, if you don't need a ticket for it, you could detach it from policies and use tasks. And so I just think that makes it a lot more flexible. And even though we saw there that my recent group there's no devices in here. To me, this is the ideal of how a group should look when you're using a group for automation purposes. If as the automation is occurring, there shouldn't be any devices that are missing Google Chrome right now if we have an automation running every single hour to ensure Chrome is being installed. So as you build your groups here, if we look at the settings here for this group, take into account that the end goal of a group that you're using for automation purposes, it should look like this. It should look like nothing is in it because the goal of an automation is to automate that process. And if you're coming in here and looking at this group all the time and expecting to see devices, that's fine, but you would want to use that group for visual purposes or for reporting purposes or alerting purposes. You wouldn't want to use it for automation purposes. You would want to create your device search group here in a manner that means that you're going to that you're not going to see anything here, that the automation is going to have an end goal and be complete. All right. I think we are at the end of it here. Um, JP, can you Slack me? Okay. Thank you. I am going to announce the winner of our giveaway for today. Our giveaway is Angela Robson. So, Angela, congratulations. There will be somebody in touch with you shortly. So, look for an email sometime tomorrow or Friday. Um, with that, I know I ran a little bit over time. Apologies again for the confusion earlier on warranty tracking. I was not aware of that. So, we'll get that all sorted. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your account manager. Thank you for attending today, and I hope you all have a very good rest of your day. Take care.